Now, Russian army commanders are facing mounting criticism at home over Ukraine's deadly New Year's Eve airstrike. The Kremlin has taken the unusual step of confirming that 89 soldiers died, though Ukraine says the real figure is in the hundreds. Russia says the unauthorized use of mobile phones by its soldiers allowed Ukraine to pinpoint their location.
Russian crowds gather in sombre ceremony in the city of Samara to mourn soldiers killed in Ukraine. People who lived here are among those who died in a New Year's Eve bombing in Makiivka.
We gathered to honor the memory of all dead soldiers of the special military operation. We gathered because it's hard for everyone. When it's hard, we should be together.
Huge piles of rubble are all that remains from the bombing. Now, Russian nationalists and some lawmakers are demanding punishment for commanders they say ignored dangers. Some reports claim soldiers were located next to a munitions depot which exploded in the strike. Others say people had been able to use their Russian mobile phones, giving away their location to Ukrainian forces. The strike has not slowed Russia's own shelling of Ukraine, its defence ministry claiming responsibility for fresh attacks in the Donetsk region. One of them destroyed this ice rink, which locals say was operating as a humanitarian warehouse.
As a result of 3 hits, an ice rink in the center of town was damaged, as well as parts of the residential and industrial sector.
Ukrainian authorities report that one person was killed and another was injured in the strikes.
Straight to the Ukrainian capital then, where we join our correspondent Roman Gocharenko. Welcome, Roman. Let's start with those Russian attacks in the Donetsk region. What can you tell us?
Well, the fighting continues with both sides trying to hit ammunition depots, and Russia now claiming that it has destroyed that HIMARS rocket launcher that was used by the Ukrainian army in the attack on Makiivka on New Year's Eve. We cannot verify that, but in the past Russia claimed that many of the HIMARS systems were destroyed, and the Ukrainian side said no, they are all safe. And we know that Ukraine is using fake HIMARS systems to distract the Russian rockets. So in general, I would say the situation is very, very tense, and both sides are preparing for a possible escalation in the coming days.
Right, and there's continuing fallout from the attack in Makiivka, with Russia's defense ministry saying the barracks was located because of its soldiers' unauthorized use of mobile phones. What does that tell us about the state of the discipline within the Russian army?
Well, it is important when it happened. It happened on a New Year's Eve when people were celebrating, drinking, and of course the morale is very low on such an occasion. And of course Ukrainian army knew that and prepared for that. Definitely the use of mobile phones could be a help for the Ukrainian army to target that facility. But not just that, Ukrainians definitely have intelligence on the occupied territories, and we have unconfirmed reports by Ukrainian officials that after that attack Russians are now being very, very aggressive against Ukrainian civilians, and that they are killing maybe some civilians. This is at least what we hear from some Ukrainian sources as a kind of revenge for that attack. In general, you have to remember that many of those killed were new on the front. They were not military. They were civilians who were mobilized by the Russian army in the past months. So they were not really aware of the danger, I would say. And this all together led to the killing of so many people.
So this was a Ukrainian strike against Russian troops, obviously. So how is this changing the narrative around the war there in Russia?
it seems to be one more big crack on the image of the Russian army, and there were many cracks before. The Russian army failed to take Kyiv, the Ukrainian capital. It failed in the north, in the region of Kharkiv. It failed in the south, in the region of Kherson. It had to retreat, and Russian forces are not moving in the east of Ukraine, in the region of Donbass, which is the core region that President Putin claims it wants to liberate, and the Ukrainians are defending there. So the calls for replacements of Russian commanders are getting louder, but I would say at the moment I don't see any signs of President Putin replacing, for example, the defense minister or the head of the general staff.
Okay, thanks for that, Roman. Roman Goncharenko in Kyiv.